Hi folks, in today's video we're going to look at some conditional logic and specifically and, or, and not statements. First of all, we're going to create a couple booleans within here. So the first one, set that variable to a boolean and we'll call this boolean1. And then we'll create a second variable and call it boolean2. If you've ever looked at logic gates, effectively that's what we're going to be building within this scenario, and let's see what happens. So we're going to drag out an if statement, and we're going to have two print strings for this one. First one saying is on, the second one saying is off. Link that up to the false, link that up to the true. Now, our condition to start off with, we'll do an AND. So if I type AND in capitals, it will come up with a Boolean and there's an NAND, which is not an AND, which is a bit different. I'll let you play around with that in a bit. So we set this up, we then drag in Boolean1 into this one, and then Boolean2 into this one. So Booleans are on and off switches. At the moment, 1 is off, and 2 is off. So let's see what happens. If I then press play, it's saying it's off. Now, if we turn boolean1 on, remember boolean2 is still off at this moment in time, and I press play, again, it defaults in it being off. Whereas, if I then put boolean2 on as well, and press play, the circuit is complete, and it then becomes an on. What we're now going to do is we're going to replace the and we're going to use an or. There you go. Again, what we have is not ORs and XORs, which will then be a lot of fun to play around with later. So we'll drag our ORs in, then we'll put this into the condition. So what we're doing is we're checking to see if the conditions are met. So I'm going to turn both these booleans off to start off with. Press play, which defaults it being off. I'll put boolean1 on, which then turns the sequence to being on, true, because at least one of these conditions have been met. If I then put 2 on as well, so both are on, all of a sudden the circuit of course is completing itself as well. Then finally we're going to play around with some nots. So we'll do not equals not boolean. So if 1 is on, it will return as not, so let's see what happens. It turns the sequence off. Now, if we turn this boolean off, it will then reverse whatever is happening here, and then let's see what happens. It turns the sequence on. And that is an introduction to and, or, and not.